Hello once again. Welcome to Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. I am meteorologist Brad Warner. And we got a bit of a change coming up here. We've got this ridge here that continues over our area here over the next day or so. But as we put this into motion, we could see we've got a pretty decent little disturbance out here across the Rockies it's going to be making its way northeastward and basically going to flatten out that ridge. And it looks like as we get into Wednesday here, it's kind of that last day when that ridge really kind of is in place. So probably one of the last days where some of the real warm air takes hold in southern parts of our region before this, like I said, before this ridge comes through and basically flattens everything out. Now, you can see several little waves are going to be ejecting out of the Rockies and moving northeastward and moving across our region, and that's going to bring us several rounds of rain and scattered thunderstorms across portions of our area. And as we kind of take a look at the moisture that begins to develop as this system pulls out, you can see kind of a two-pronged thing. We've got some moisture moving up from the south, but we also have some moisture left over across the north with an ejecting system out in the east. And that really begins to pool some of that low-level moisture across the northern portions of our region, across northern North Dakota and Minnesota. Now watch all this moisture at the mid-levels out here across the Rockies begin to move into the area as these systems, as these upper-level disturbances eject out and move across our area. See how all that moisture also kind of moves into portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota as well. And at the surface, as that surface low begins to move out of the Rockies and that moisture begins to move northward, basically what happens here is you kind of get a wringing out of the moisture. And all that moisture that's pooling up across the northern portions of North Dakota and Minnesota just kind of starts to get wrung out in through the northern areas. And so we're looking at some areas, particularly across northern parts of Minnesota, that could actually get a couple of inches of rain out of this. And so we take a look at the composite reflectivity, the forecasted reflectivity here that's possible as we get into, this is Tuesday, not much going on. Tuesday night, still not a whole lot. By Wednesday morning, maybe a few showers out across western parts of the Dakotas. But really nothing gets going until more Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening until we begin to pop some storms and some rain across central and western parts of the Dakotas. And that's expected to basically increase through the overnight hours Wednesday night and in through Thursday morning as that this particular area kind of pushes off to the northeast. Now also note this band of rain as well begins to develop just kind of along and north of the border. With some pretty heavy rains as well. So here's how all that moisture begins to pool up. This is Thursday morning, right about 7 a.m. And so yeah, we're looking at some rain showers, possibly some few rumbles of thunder. It doesn't look like anything's going to be severe, but just some good rains that are going to be finally moving through some scattered areas across our region. Really, as we go through the day on Thursday, we're just going to be expecting more scattered rain, a few rumbles of thunder, mainly across eastern Dakotas in through parts of Minnesota. And then as we get into Thursday night and early Friday morning, again, just some rain across, mainly probably eastern parts of Minnesota as we get into early parts of Friday morning. As we get later in the day on Thursday, we do have this cold front that's still trying to move through the region. And so that could set off a few thunderstorms across central and eastern parts of Minnesota. Now, some of those could be strong with some small hail and some gustier winds. So Friday right now might be the day to just keep an eye on it. Nothing severe expected or anything widespread severe, but right now that'd be the only day at this point where we're looking at the possibility of maybe some stronger storms. And then, but it looks like as the sun goes down, those quickly dissipate as we get into Friday evening. Potential precipitation amounts. Now, again, many areas across the region are probably going to be a quarter inch or less. But I do think some of these areas kind of in through here have the potential of picking up maybe a half inch. And if you're lucky, maybe even an inch if the right little storm kind of pops up and moves to the northeast. Now, the best area, obviously, for the potential of a half inch or more, probably actually over an inch or two, is going to be in these northern regions across northern parts of Minnesota, northeast parts of Minnesota as well. So, yeah, we're looking at some decent rainfall up and through here, an inch or two even. Some models are even indicating or hinting at the potential for up to 3 inches across the northeastern parts of Minnesota. So quite a bit of moisture on the way, and much needed for some areas, but I know there's still quite a few farmers out there harvesting, so maybe not always the best thing either, as some of the farmers are trying to wrap up their harvest. Now, before the clouds begin to move in, you will notice some smoke once again back into the air, and some pretty heavy smoke moving across portions of the Dakotas through the day on Tuesday, and as we get in through Wednesday as well. Looks like once we get into Thursday more so, some of this begins to finally clear out a little bit. Now, looking beyond this weekend, some of the models are still kind of disagreeing, but it's starting to look like this active weather pattern will continue. You can see this big trough that wants to dig into western parts of the United States. And we got some pretty strong winds, some southwesterly winds that begin to push into our area as we get into next week. So that would indicate continued rain and thunderstorm chances across the entire region as this low continues to kind of dumbbell through. And if this particular model does pan out, it does give us a blast of cooler air out of the northwest later in the week as well. So perhaps some pretty cool temperatures on the way for the region. But again, this is pretty far out there. I think what it is indicating, however, is just that we're going to continue to have a more of an active weather pattern as we go beyond this weekend. And so just a quick look at some of the expected high temperatures here for Tuesday. We've got 60s across the north, 80s, mid to upper 80s across the south for Tuesday. For Wednesday, more of the same, kind of your 60s across the far north, and then getting into the 90s across portions of South Dakota. Thursday, maybe even just a little bit cooler across portions of the north, where some areas might kind of struggle to get to 60. Meanwhile, we're still in the 80s across the areas in the south, across South Dakota and southern Minnesota. And then Friday, areas to the north begin to warm up just a little bit, where everybody's into the 60s, some 80s left in the south. For Saturday, again, 60s north, 80s in the far south. And for Sunday, starting to reach maybe 70 across the far north, but still about the mid 80s across the south. So a few more things to mention. Not so boring, not quite as dry. So I guess we finally have a couple of things, reasons to put out a video anyway. So I don't know if you noticed, I probably might look a little clearer. My head is not quite as see-through as before. It's not lighting. I actually started messing around with a DSLR camera that I had on hand and found out that I can use it for this. So yeah, it looks better. So we continue to find new ways to improve. Eventually, I will get new lighting, but yeah, I think it improved it quite a bit already. So hey, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button down below. That helps my videos get noticed. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll continue to issue out these videos through the winter time. So come our first winter storm, our first snowfall, you'll be the first to know when anything is coming about. And I'll also be on live when we get some larger winter storms as well. So make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. So all right. For Region Weather Live, I am meteorologist, easy for me to say. For Region Weather Live, I am meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody have a good day.